Gentlemen, have you ever liked two girls at the same exact time? Oh, that's a tough predicament to be in. Caught betwixt two lovers? Well, I want to tell you guys a story about a man who got stuck with two girls even though he only wanted one. And I'm talking about Jacob. So, you guys remember Jacob had been running away from his brother Esau. Esau was threatening to kill him because he stole the family blessing that rightfully belonged to him. And his father Isaac said, Jacob, you need to run away. You need to go live with your uncle Laban for a while, just until Esau cools off. So, Jacob finds himself running away, and he finds himself in the land of Haran. When he gets to the land of Haran, he's talking to a couple of shepherds. He's like, hey guys, where am I? And they're like, oh, you're in the land of Haran. He's like, oh, hey, I have an uncle out here. Do you guys happen to know a man named Laban? And they're like, well, as a matter of fact, we do know Laban. Great guy, that Laban. Oh, hey, as a matter of fact, here he comes now with his daughter Rachel. And so Jacob looks over and he sees this hot piece. Oh, dang. There's Rachel and there's his uncle Laban. He's so excited to see Rachel, his cousin, that he actually kisses her and is like, oh, you don't understand. You're my cousin and I'm so happy to be here with you. And then he sees Laban. He's like, what's up, Uncle Laban? It's me, Jacob. And Laban's like, wow, Jacob, you're so big. Come and live with me. So Jacob goes to live with his uncle Laban and he starts working for him. And after a little bit of time, Jacob begins to fall in love with his cousin Rachel. So he starts working for his uncle Laban as a shepherd, and he starts tending the fields. He begins to fall in love with Laban's youngest daughter, and that's the hottie Rachel. Yes, this is his cousin. It's messed up. Remember, these are different times. And Jacob is so in love with Rachel that he goes to his uncle Laban. He's like, hey, Uncle Laban, I really like working for you. And Laban's like, well, you know what, Jacob, you shouldn't work for me for free. You tell me any price that you want to be paid, and I will pay that to you. And Jacob's like, well, I'm glad you asked, Uncle Laban. As a matter of fact, I would really like to marry Rachel, your daughter. And Laban's so excited. He's like, oh, absolutely. I would give her to no one else except for you, Jacob. Here's the deal. You start working for me for 7 years, do business with me for 7 years, and I will let you marry Rachel. And Jacob is really excited. He's like, it's a deal. However, there's something that you guys don't know yet. Rachel has an older sister, and her name is Leah. Now, Leah, the Bible describes, she's got dull eyes. And what that means is she is very plain and not very special to look at. So she's not exactly hot like her younger sister Rachel is. So Jacob starts working for his uncle Laban for 7 years, and Scripture says that he enjoys working for him so much because he's so in love with Rachel that it only feels like a few days. And finally, the time comes that he gets to marry Rachel, and so he's waiting to get married. And Scripture says that one night, it was so extremely dark, he's lying in wait for his bride Rachel to arrive, and Laban sneaks over and instead switches her out for his eldest daughter, Leah. Remember, Leah's the one that's not too pretty to look at. And so, when the wedding comes, Laban switches Rachel with Leah, and he has no idea what's going on and makes love to her. And in the morning when they wake up, he's like, wait a minute, what's going on? And she's like, haha, guess what? You're married to me now. So Jacob is obviously steamed about this. He's so angry. So he goes and he confronts his uncle Laban. He's like, what the heck, Laban? We had a deal. I worked for you for 7 years. Why have you done this to me? Why did you trick me into sleeping with your elder sister Leah? Now I'm married to her technically. And Laban's whole defense is, it's not traditional that we marry the youngest daughter before we marry the oldest. And that's his whole defense. Jacob is so fumed. And so after confronting him, Scripture says that he makes another deal. Laban makes another deal with him. Laban made Jacob work for another 7 years in order to marry Rachel again. So he does it. Jacob works for Uncle Laban for 7 more years. And finally, Jacob then gets married to Rachel too. However, he's also stuck with Leah because he lied with her. meaning he slept with her. So now Jacob is married to two women, and he goes on to have over a dozen sons between these two women and their servants. And we're going to get to that a little later, but I wanted to tell you guys about the time where Jacob was with his uncle and how he got married. He was running away from Esau and sought out sanctuary with his uncle, and this is the fiasco that went down while he was living with his uncle all these years.